Hey everyone, hold on. We're just going to do our normal intro and let some folks get logged on. See if this thing shows up where it's supposed to. 1 minute. Hey, I think it's slowly starting to make sense. All right. You're live on LinkedIn. Hey everyone, we are live on LinkedIn and I believe live on Facebook. I will get started in just 1 second. How are you? I have a computer, camera, microphone, caffeinated beverage. I'm ready to go. Funny story. You don't care about this, I'll tell you anyway. I was once complained on by a student once complained about me having a caffeine problem. You ever been accused of being a caffeine addict? I have it under control these days, but maybe 15 years ago, that person was correct. Okay. Yep, looks like we are good to go. Hi, everyone. I hope you're well. I won't talk, as we all have, understandably, many times before about the strange new world we're living in. Hey, it's just our new normal, and that's that. So one caveat, though, before I forget, I live in a high-rise currently. I'm actually changing that. The wife and I are moving our little existence somewhere else shortly in this lovely town called Houston. And in fact, today in our high-rise, there's some construction. So if it becomes untenable and strange, I will be telling you, I love you, see you later, see you next time. But hopefully it's going to be smooth sailing. Hey, everybody, we've got Mustafa, Maria, Helen. Hey, Helen, how are you? Nice. Let me take a peek over here as well at at Facebook. Are we even live on Facebook? Yeah, there he goes. We got, hey, Katie, how are you? Good, wonderful. At Facebook. Hold on. Are we even live on Facebook? All right, wonderful. So, update on me, I always start there. Not much to say, same old stuff. You know what I do for a living. I write things and I make courses. I do have some good news to announce, though. I have finished the next slate, the draft kind of title overview, small outline for a whole bunch of courses that I'm so excited about. 15, in fact, for the next batch over the next year or so. Stay tuned for more. I always tell you this, and I'll try my best today when we're wrapping up to remind you, if you're not following me on LinkedIn, you should. If you're not subscribed to the newsletter over at drdoit.com, please jump over there, drop in your email, because that is the simplest, fastest way to find out what's going on with me. Just finished the the final draft, of Live Hard. That is going to be handed off to my editor very shortly. I'm so excited. That means in a few months it could be in your hands. I think it's going to be a spectacular book you'll enjoy, and it's going to be a new keynote a whole bunch of folks will enjoy. So I'm very excited about that. And then now that that's kind of behind me, I'm going to take a book break for a few months and really work on some new course content creation that, if I'm fortunate, will show up on LinkedIn and elsewhere in the not too distant future. So that's what I'm up to, and working on a move as well. I hope you're doing well. I continue to hear from tons of you. And in fact, I chose today's topic partially because of feedback from you guys. It's a topic that I chose to make a kind of a core part of what I do, because I'm interested in it, because I wanted more of it when I was young, before I became a outside observer, analyzer, pontificator, whatever I am today, and because so many of you want it as well. And the word I'm thinking of is candor. Let me just give you a phrase to get us started, okay? That phrase is that candor always trumps civility. I'm going to say that again. Candor always trumps civility. Maybe it's a little bit of an extreme comment, because sometimes civility should win, but let me explain, and then we're going to back up and talk about this just a little bit. So candor is about being forthright as needed in the moment, saying what needs to be said. Civility is about being kind, congenial, acceptable in a social way, in an emotional way, in a conversation or interaction with a person. Of course, civility is useful. I'm going to try and argue that candor is a whole lot more useful on average and is a defining characteristic of high-performing teams. So let me back up and tell you where all this came from. First of all, hey, Rita, how are you? Philippe, Rita, Rashid, Nancy, Maxwell. From Germany, we got Ireland, we got Virginia. How are you? India, hey man, how are you? Amazing to me. I flip the switch and there's people around the planet sitting here talking to us and leaving comments. Thanks for those comments, by the way. As we're talking today for the next few minutes, if you have a comment, share it. If you have a question you'd like me to answer, please share it. I always try, and usually, not always, but usually I'm successful in shutting up in time to answer a couple questions. Anyhow, here's the backstory to candor versus civility, or my love of candor. So I fell in love many, many years ago with talking about authenticity and studying relationships, communication, especially authenticity and a few other aspects as a part of relationships at work. Authenticity is very straightforward. The idea is that at work, we do this a lot. We get more measured, more distant, more polished. We choose our words that we think are safe and acceptable, that they want to hear, he wants to hear, she wants to hear, etc. And we deliver, hopefully as a competent professional, but we do so unemotionally and without any personal color of any kind. I'm here to tell you that is not ideal. The research and the common sense align on this one. They don't always, but on this one, they do. Authenticity, which is a little more personal, honest, and colorful, not just always polished and measured and professional only, tends to be the secret sauce that makes relationships hum. Everybody talks about creativity, innovation, progress, change. Those are all predicated on comfort and understanding inside a relationship. And you do not create that, period, with measured, polished, cold, professional-only relationships. It only comes from something more authentic, real, and personal. So that's kind of the backstory. Plenty of research, certainly a whole lot of my writing and activities have addressed that for many years. And I know I will be using that as a central theme for the next, for the rest of my career. How you like that? But today, one little facet of that, candor. I hear so much after the rise of emotional intelligence as a construct, as people in general become more aware that work can be toxic, bosses can be mediocre, sometimes very bad, causing all kinds of problems at work. And I'm not talking just about productivity. I'm talking about stress and burnout and mental health issues. We know that work can be heavy to the point that it's actually killing a lot of people. Now, that statement will sound weird to you. I hope it doesn't. The research increasingly in many different fields backs that up. So as people started getting more and more into talking about and thinking about emotions as a precursor to healthy employee relations, well, you know, this idea of civility takes root and it gets popular. Why? Well, of course, we want to be kind to people, don't we? I know there's many people out here and there's many perspectives listening to me. And a lot of people hear, yeah, you're supposed to be kind, congenial, you're supposed to be civil. And they say to themselves, well, that's beautiful. And I love that and I promote that. And then there's another camp of you out there who hear that and you go, yeah, but the truth is, we got to stop being so nice and get some things done. Sometimes it hurts to say what needs to be said or to hear what someone needs to say to you. That's true as well. So what do you do with these two competing ideas? Well, there's a sweet spot in the middle where you intelligently and kindly attempt to move in the right direction. And the right direction for most teams is towards more candor. Let me say that again. We've gotten pretty good at generally understanding what it means to be civil, and we go there kind of a go-to knee-jerk reaction, being civil, almost too much. That sounds weird. Almost too much. That's right. We want to be kind. We don't want to get in trouble. We don't want to ruffle feathers. So we're nice. And I'm here to tell you that we actually should be doing that a lot, but maybe not as much as we do, because candor is the real thing. Candor is the information we need to actually move forward. What's the point? What's the issue? Let's talk. No innuendo, no posturing. I know this is true. The research has been clear for a long time about the characteristics of high-performing teams. And we know that candor, I don't have to tell people on high-performing teams when I meet with them, I don't have to tell them, guys, remove the filter, always try and be kind, of course. Remove the filter, just say what needs to be said. Let's do this. I don't have to tell them that. They get that. They demand that. The higher performing individuals always err on that. Organizations, again, with great respect, are dominated by good workers, wonderful soldiers, we call them different things, but not superstars. The superstars are already oriented, for better or for worse, boom, with candor. But the average employee, value-added good, I'm glad they're there for sure, they tend to err a little more on civility. So I'm being redundant on purpose. You're going to take with you today that a hallmark of great teams is candor, stronger than civility, and you're going to ask yourself how true or not that might be where you work. I really want to know. Oh, we got Malaysia, we got Pakistan. Hi guys, how are you? Hey Ashley, hey Yaz. So nice to see so many people. It's crazy the geographies that we cover in here. So let's think for just a minute. If you're going to listen to me, which is always useful and sometimes dangerous. Think about that for a minute. Always useful. I'm grateful to be that person. Sometimes dangerous. I don't tell you how to be safe. That's a waste of a career. I tell you how to be productive, move ahead, and push towards progress for you, yourself, your team, etc. That is never risk-free. A lot of people don't speak to you as plainly as I am, but listen carefully. Progress for you, for society, never risk-free. It always has difficulties associated with it. Risks you must bear. Okay, back to candor. If you really want to try and move forward with this topic, will everyone love you for it? Hey, I heard do it too. I'm with you. Let's do it. No. A whole lot of people like to just get by. They enjoy civility. They like the safest path forward. They enjoy conversations that never hurt, even if they're not very productive conversations. And I'm here to tell you that's unfortunate. It is extremely common. And for you, it represents an opportunity. Now, you have to understand that even if you're skilled and have the best of intentions, if you move forward trying to change, improve, and push towards candor as a hallmark of how you communicate, sometimes it will cause problems. What kind of problems will it cause? Well, first of all, you will ruffle feathers. And by the way, you don't always know when you're ruffling feathers at work. Sometimes you see it all over their face. Now, if you ruffled my feathers, you would know it because I can't hide anything. I'm an emotional person, and you would see it all over my face and my body, and that's that. But there's a whole bunch of other people who would only be thinking in here, well, I didn't like that. That was not useful information. It wasn't framed right. It wasn't delivered right. However they want to, criticize what you said. Candor to them will seem too curt, too blunt, too problematic to be useful, and it will really be a challenge for them to hear the message you were trying to deliver because they didn't like the style that was used to deliver it. The style here being defined by candor. That's okay. It's unavoidable. Your goal here is not to avoid the downside of something good like candor. Your goal is to get good at understanding how you're delivering, reading and watching how others react, so you can improve how you deliver to attempt to be understood and accepted more and more by the folks you're communicating with, I should say, right? Okay, sometimes you will see feathers ruffled. And when you do, you got to think for just a minute, okay, what do I do with that? I'm not saying that you should immediately stop candor, go back to just being nice and safe. I'm not saying that at all. I am saying you should notice, you should care, because it's worth maybe commenting on, and you need to think through this. It might be on the fly, depending on who else is with you. It might be later when emotions can subside. It might be later when you can go to their office, some safer place for them, so that they're more adjusted, ready, and able to talk to you. And then when that time is right, just stating, was I too blunt? Or I'm not sure I connected when I shared that with you. If I was too loud or too candid, I would hope that you would be able to tell me so. Some simple, very short, kind, honest question, comment like that to give someone a chance to engage. And that's what you want in a great conversation. You want people to do this, and they've got to feel comfortable to do it. So when you go to them, you have to mean it. Let me say that again. You have to mean it. You can't see feathers ruffled or think there might be a problem with the candid nature of a conversation that you initiated, and then ask someone if everything's okay, because you know you're supposed to ask them. You read about it, you listened to do it. However you came to this conclusion, you know it's a useful thing, so you do it mechanically because you're supposed to. Only do it if you mean it. You follow me? Communication has to be sincere. In fact, many times, if you attempt to communicate with someone for all the right reasons, but you don't mean it, it's not sincere, you can make things worse. Isn't that strange? You did it for the right reasons, but you actually might make things worse. Hello from Morocco. Hey man, how are you? Mr. Salik, what's going on? We've got Egypt. Nice. John, I'm going to jump on John's comment. This is really interesting. John, SHRM, good for you, brother. VP of HR at a place I cannot see. John says, candor is oftentimes misunderstood. How do you articulate it as a theory and explain what exactly the practical application looks and feels like? Candor is an effort to move towards a little more curt, to the point, innuendo lacking conversation, straight to the point. It does not mean positive or negative per se. It means innuendo and posturing and framing is absent. The thing you wish to say with as few words as possible is rather quickly said instead of slowly, excessively, thoughtfully said. What? Did I just say don't be thoughtful? Kind of, but that's not the point I'm making. The point I'm making is that framing, innuendo, and posturing are often very overdone in the name of civility. Candor is about getting to the point. I just want people to know that when you do that, it's a thing. This is so big. You ready? A thing others can learn to accept from you. This is my go-to orientation, by the way, in conversation like this, is to assume that you are influential and or in a formal leadership role. That's always my assumption. That's my kind of wheelhouse of expertise, or at least my favorite wheelhouse of expertise. Listen, if you're in a position of power, this is going to sound strange. Part of what you're trying to do to your team or to others who might be underneath the team, if you're high in a pyramid that is the organization, is to train others to understand your mode of communication. Now, that's going to sound peculiar to some of you. Very often, we're supposed to care a lot about how others need to communicate, need to hear things, how they feel, what their needs are. I love talking about that. But the higher you go up in leadership, the less you can actually invest time doing that, individual by individual. But what you can do is try to be a measured version of yourself that will connect with the maximum number of people and ruffle only, well, the absolute minimum number of feathers. You'll notice I didn't say try to hit an average that ruffles no feathers. That is sterile. That is not useful. That's political speak. We make fun of politicians for doing it. They can do what I'm doing right now, talk a whole lot and say nothing. That is not what we want to do in organizational life if our goal is to have people understand us, trust us, follow us, so that together we can all kill it and really reach some interesting goals together. If that's what you want to do, candor needs to be a defining characteristic. Sometimes, I will admit this, there's so many groups that are mediocre. That's why I have a job. Do you think I do this just because I love these topics? Nope. I do this, believe me, thanks to LinkedIn, the internet, and a whole lot of things I've been doing for years. I'm connected to gazillions of people. That's a number. And I hear from them all the time about work life, about their bosses, about their teams, and many other things. We know as scientists, we know as practitioners as well, we know there are so many mediocre teams. They are by far the most dominant version of teams out there. So if you're leading one of them, if you really want to change the tenor of this conversation, you want to change the culture in that team, move them forward, because you care about things, not just productivity and getting the job done, but creativity, innovation, all these other higher levels of performance that we talk about. Starts with comfort. Comfort only comes through expertly delivered communication, and a big chunk of that is candor. Listen carefully. When candor is delivered by a person who is known to walk the talk. That is to say, they don't just preach to you guys, but they also live by their own advice. They do what they say others should do. When you're that person, candor hurts a whole lot less. When they believe you have integrity in difficult situations, you've done the right thing time and again, candor hurts a whole lot less. When they see that you're working to do basic quality leadership things that great leaders just always do, trying to include people in conversations, trying to have collaborations instead of just dictating answers, et cetera, et cetera. When you give people autonomy to do their work appropriately, with a reasonable amount of latitude to make their own calls. When you see great work and you're saying thank you, when you see exceptional, crazy good work and you're rewarding it to the best of your ability, rewarding it with great, could be raises, promotions, praise, who knows what's appropriate. When you're doing those basic, quality, amazing parts of leadership, candor hurts less. Let me tell you when candor really hurts and becomes unproductive. It becomes unproductive when you shock them with it because they've never seen it before. That's not good. We'll talk about that in just a second. It hurts when they don't believe in you. When they don't believe in you. That's going to be a harsh thing to say to kind people like you who listen to what I'm talking about, but I have to say it because some people that you think are really on the right page, following you, get you, listening to you, are, and others aren't. Really, to be honest with you, this is a bigger conversation about you and introspection, self-analysis, insight about you and how well you relate to others, which varies person by person. Stop making assumptions about them. Listen a little more than you talk, hard for some of us to do, and get to know who they are and slowly but surely the thoughts they have about the issues, the situations, and people around them like you. Because the more you understand them, the more you'll quickly begin to tailor the candor for your team, tailor the candor for individuals when you're speaking individually. That's when candor starts to have a home. Sometimes as you make this transition away from sterile, safe, overly safe conversation to more candid, needed, on the fly, to the point conversation, which is not only efficient, but effective. And that's magic, efficient and effective. Well, on occasion, you will need to learn how to intervene and apologize. A minute ago, I talked about an intervention, simple question or a comment about how maybe they perceived you. Hopefully, you can tell them, did I rub you the wrong way? I didn't mean to. And you give them a chance to voice their response. Now, in the case that there is a yes or something that looks to you like an affirmation that your candor came off a little bit rough to their ears, whether you intended it or not, and mostly I know you didn't, then you have to think about an apology. Now, I'm going to talk about this just for a minute, take a question or two if I've got one, and then we've got to wrap up because I can't do this all day. Here we go. Listen. Sometimes, and this is I should do this as a whole nother stream. What does a professional apology look like? And let me back up even a step further. When do you apologize at work? Most of you, the answer is never. I've never done it. And some of you think, maybe I should, and I haven't. Others are thinking, why would I ever apologize? I'm just trying to do my best. I don't care. Apologies are human. Humans have great difficulty getting along and understanding each other. That's life. That's normal, which means almost all of us have had multiple opportunities where we probably should have given some sort of sincere, brief, and honest apology. So if you're trying to embrace candor in line with our conversation today and you ruffle some feathers or overtly upset someone, and it is bound to happen, apology is what you got to do. And the best way to do that, you can do it on the fly in front of others if you want to, and if your team is comfortable with personal and sincere conversation. But for many of you, it's going to be offline. That's a respect thing that keeps everyone more comfortable and calm. It's in a place they're more safe, maybe their office or in a cafeteria, someplace that feels neutral as opposed to your office or the room where you guys always meet. And it's sincere. It starts with you going, I think I noticed something. I hope I didn't cause a problem. It's you owning, that's the word, owning what you did, number one. Number two, explaining it. I was just trying to really be candid because I think this issue matters. And frankly, I wanted to get to your feedback as quick as possible. I might have messed that up if I was being too brusque for you. So that's owning it. That's explaining why you did it. And that's also saying, number three, what amends are you going to make? how can I, in the future, try and be candid and meet your needs as a communicator so I don't cause problems, I just inform. So that's you learning how to tailor being candid to connect with someone without causing a problem as you're communicating with them. And then, by the way, you got to do all of this clearly and briefly, if at all possible, because once you do this, that's where the real beauty of showing up to talk to them begins, because now they have the floor. You've given them the floor. You've showed them you value giving them the floor, and they can say to you whatever therapeutically and or informationally they need to say to you so that you understand instead of assume. You understand where they're at. That is how you embrace candor. Let me take a peek on a minute. By the way, hey man, we've got so many people on Facebook. Krista, former student, how are you? Brad, high school friend, Mr. Nikor, how are you? Teo, sir, how are you? Michelle Harwell, one of my faves, lady, how you doing? Holy cow, I can't even possibly keep up with all you guys. Hey, Keith Brooks, how are you? Anna, good to see you. All right, man. Gordon, my best friend in the UK, says, I love your energy. Gordon, look, coming from you, that's a compliment, friend. Let me just tell you, what I do on these streams is it aligns with today's topic so well. I don't like to BS. Even if I need to have part of the lecture, part of the conversation about how to deal with the fallout associated with the thing I'm advocating, that's fine, because straight talk and candor are defining characteristics of successful people and great teams. That's a recurring finding. So I think we should all, as trainers, as teachers, by the way, that means parents, that means a lot of people, we should spend some meaningful time framing and posturing because we care about civility. Civility will always be of paramount importance. No doubt about that, and I love saying that. You just cannot allow it, on average, to be more powerful and defining than candor in a conversation. Because if you want them to hear you and not just feel okay about what you're doing with them, then candor has to be slightly more prevalent, more powerful in the exchange. Does that make sense? All right. Hey, here's a question for you. How will you know where you are with regard to this? Well, okay, this is what great pros do all the time. And I love saying this. The more successful you become, sometimes we fall into traps and we stop seeking feedback. I'm going to leave you with this. You need to go find someone you trust who will, in an unfiltered way, speak to you and have them tell you what they see in terms of how well or how, unfortunately, you typically, on average, use candor. What you hear might thrill you, might upset you, but if your mind is open and you believe in feedback, it's definitely going to help you. Now, what's that worth? Better, improved communication? I think you know what I know. That's priceless. So many people joined us today. Hey, Maxwell, good to see you. How do you handle, one last question, how do you handle self-personality in a team? I always want to have this, but not willing to sacrifice. You mean self-personality. Maxwell, I'm not exactly sure what you mean. If you'll send me an email and clarify what you mean, I would love to try and answer that. Oh, you rewrote it. Okay. Selfish. Well, if you see someone, short answer, if you see someone being too needy or selfish in a communication episode, the first thing you have to think about is the power differential. If you have more power, it's less risky to cut someone off nicely and say, I think we're off topic, or I'm not sure I have time. Can we continue this later? Some kind way of not overindulging that tendency. If you are lower on the power spectrum, you have to think about how you stop interacting with that person as much, because you know they're going to overindulge in ugly tendencies. But if you're on the team with them or the boss of them, that responsibility is yours. Okay, hope that's useful enough answer for you. Today's stream is rapidly drawing to a close. I'll end where I began. I hope you're doing well. If I can be useful, reach out. Connect with me on LinkedIn, Facebook, if that's your thing. Send me an email. I'd love to answer a question. If you have a thought, I'll give you my perspective. Happy to do it. Definitely go by drdoit.com, sign up for the newsletter, and stay up to speed on everything I've got coming down the pike, which is a lot. You'll do that, I'll owe you one. Take care. See you next time.